It's kind of loud. It was a little hard to hear you at that point, but we do have the boats for the Unlimited Lights B main on the race course with about 2 minutes and 33 seconds left to go before the start.
Now, Mark, these are boats trying to win their way into the Unlimited Lights final heat. We asked the question, how many of them will transfer? First, second, third, and apparently the scoring system that's used in the lights, they don't know that right now. It depends on how many boats run, how many compete. So we'll have to kind of give you the play-by-play and let you know who wins, who's second, and then later we'll hear who goes into the final. Some good news for Kaylee Perkins, though. Right now, her boat's going fast up the backstretch. We haven't seen much of that.
Right, and we had the lineup on the screen just a moment ago, but there are some boats that are on there that are not out on the water, and there are a couple of boats that are not on the list that are on the water. So we're looking at Kaylee Perkins going up the backstretch and into the far west turn, which is the way they do to come down. Now, they have to come down front straightaway, and they cannot start. They cannot go across the start-finish line until 1:45. They're well in advance of that. We're down under 1:37 seconds. So here comes Kaylee Perkins in the UL 72. Looks like we will have 3 boats in our Unlimited Lights B main. This will be Austin Ekrit in the UL 11.
We're looking at Kaylee Perkins.
Yes,
that's the UL 72.
That's right.
And we talked about her being one of the top drivers out here, one of the best boats, but she has had engine problems. She doesn't appear to be having them now, and if she makes any kind of a start, I'm sure she'll be a factor here. It would be nice to get Kaylee into the final heat, Mark. I know a lot of her fans would be disappointed if that didn't happen, but obviously a couple other guys out here want to give her a good race, and we hope that happens also.
Right now we're looking at Austin Ekrit and the UL 11, and Austin, a rookie in the Unlimited Lights racing this year. He's coming off of the Blue Bridge turn. Again, they will go all the way up around the Unlimited's long turn and then come down for their start. So they actually make a couple of laps on this 2.5-mile Unlimited course in order to get their score up, where they have to hold their lanes after that until they get around through the first turn of actual racing in lap 1.
We're at 31 seconds right there. It looks like both Kaylee Perkins and Austin Ekrit are in pretty good shape on the backstretch. There's a boat coming down the front chute.
That's Chris Grant.
And Chris is very, very early with 22 seconds to the start. He's going to cross the start-finish line too early unless he puts the brakes on right here. It looks like he will not be a legal starter. He's going to cross the line at 11 seconds. So problems for Mr. Grant. Here comes your boat race. Kaylee Perkins on the inside, Ekrit on the outside. They're in good shape, Mark. 4 seconds.
Slowing down just a little bit.
3, 2, 1.
Now she brings it up.
Mark, and they're fine. They're going boat racing.
Kaylee Perkins leads Austin Ekrit across the line. 3 boats on the course, really a 2-boat race as they come down toward the Blue Bridge turn. Austin Ekrit on the outside in the white boat, Kaylee Perkins in the UL 72 on the inside. Pretty even as they head to the Blue Bridge turn. That entrance buoy right there. Kaylee got the left side of the boat up just a little bit as they go to the turn. Pretty even, Steve.
And they're going to come up behind Chris Grant right away. He started way too early, so he's out ahead of him. He is coming up behind him and has to figure out if she's going inside or outside. Outside, she decides, is the better way to go. Now she goes by Grant easily, and Ekrit chases her up the backstretch. So Kaylee Perkins running the way we thought she would yesterday.
She had an awful day with a motor yesterday. Just not a good day. But Kaylee's got it up and running right now and really moving. This boat can go when the engine is right and the setup is right, and I think they've got it right this time around. End of lap number 1. We go 3 laps for the Unlimited Lights. Kaylee Perkins across the start-finish line at the end of lap number 1. Followed shortly by Austin Ekrit.
Again, we don't know the transfer situation, but you have to presume that the winner of this would go into the final heat. Quite possibly the second place boat as well. We won't know that until we put the boats on the water for the final. But Kaylee Perkins right now on her way to the final heat. We're sure of that, unless Austin Ekrit catches her or something goes wrong in the engine room aboard the UL 72.
Well, she didn't have a good day with the engine yesterday, but she's got it singing right now. Austin Ekrit closing ground just a little bit, and it looks like Kaylee slowed down coming off the turn. Austin slowed down just a little bit as he came off the turn, so there's still about a 3 rooster tail lead. You can see the difference on your screen. Kaylee Perkins leading Austin Ekrit on lap number 2.
But she has slowed down, Mark. Austin is coming up on her, and Kaylee's rooster tail has dropped considerably. She may have just been taking it easy, knowing she had a nice lead and not wanting to fly the boat too much, but Austin right now is going much faster than she is. Kaylee now across the start-finish again, picks the rooster tail back up. Maybe on the radio they told her she needed to get going one more time.
They've given him the white flag. Both of them seem to have slowed down Steve Montgomery, but now it seems they're back to racing speed again and heading to the Blue Bridge turn. Austin Egret is closing up some ground on Kaylee Perkins. He's now less than a rooster tail behind on the third 3 times around.
The last time they went up the backstretch, it looked like Kaylee was either losing some power or backing off a little, and now Austin Egret in that turn has moved right up on her hip. He's just outside her rooster tail. He is going faster than she is, but it may be too little too late. Kaylee has a nice lead now. The rooster tail kicking up a little better than it did last time she went up the backstretch. It's long and low, but look at Austin. He's really turning it on. The youngster is going to pull up beside her in this turn. The inside may be the only reason Kaylee wins this thing, if indeed she does. Here comes Austin Egret.
Watch the turn these two make. Kaylee right on the buoy line, Austin Egret on the outside, and that finish line right at the end of the turn. And I think that is what saved Kaylee, because Austin Egret had a lot of boat speed coming up the backstretch and caught her going into the turn.
He really did, and I don't know. It could be that Kaylee knew exactly where he was and was running just hard enough to stay ahead. She is a veteran now in the Unlimited Lights, a very cagey veteran, if you will, has won a lot of heats, a lot of races, and we know that we will see her in the final. We don't know how many of these boats from the B main will go to the Unlimited Light final. And Mark, we probably won't know until we bring them onto the water for that later this afternoon.
Well, there's Chris Grant on your screen, and he is a lap behind. He did start early or late or something, but he is...
he started different.
Yeah, different than everybody else. He will finish third if he makes this final lap. So the way they finish...
Go ahead.
Foster Care, UL72, Kaylee Perkins in first. Austin Egret, the UL11 in second. We expect that Chris Grant will finish in third. We will be back after this word.
Kaylee Perkins finds a little better engine that time, Mr. Noland, than she did yesterday. I would think you have a fairly happy Kaylee Perkins down there. Let's go to Patrick Noland in the pits.
Yeah, let's scoot down a little bit.
All right, Kaylee, how did it go there? The main B, you get the win, you get it done, you move on to the final.
I'm really excited. We've really struggled this weekend with the Triad motor, and it still stuttered a little bit there in the beginning, but it cleared just in time, and nobody was more thankful than me, because it was really starting to get really, really upsetting. And I know these guys are trying super hard, and they're doing a great job, but with anything new, you're going to fail a couple times. So hopefully in the final we don't fail.
Yeah, talk about the kind of the change of the ways things went yesterday. I know they didn't go exactly how you wanted them to go. Going a little better today.
They didn't go at all how I wanted them to. You know, it wouldn't get above about $3,000 in RPM, and you know, not competitive at all when everybody else is running at 7 or 8. So it was really, really just heartbreaking to bring the boat back and go, I know you guys worked hard, but it didn't work. Try again. So I'm very happy to bring it back and say, you know what, it's not great, but it's so much better, and you guys did a great job, and I'm just beyond happy.
What else do you think has to change before you head into the next race?
I have no idea. The more tinkering. I mean, we haven't quite pinpointed what the problem is yet. There's a few things we think could be, so we're going to address it a little more now.
All right, thank you very much, Kaylee. Kaylee Perkins, winner of the main B, Unlimited Lights. Back to you.
So we are confident that Kaylee has driven her way into the final heat. We will have to wait to hear from the UL officials who will be joining her there. We know some of the winners from yesterday who were not in this heat are obviously in the final already. Mark, you have a better memory than I do.
And it's helped along by a little note here that I got earlier. The Paul Becker's boat, the UL14, the yellow boat, will be in the final. The UL20, Bob Smets and Smetco. The 00, that's Will Muncie's boat. And then the fellow we saw doing fairly well yesterday, Rod Bork in the UL5. Those, because of their finishes yesterday, are already in the final. Kaylee we'll have to see who else.
And that's the reason they didn't have to run in the B main. The B main is a nice concept that the ULs use, because you do some racing and the winners go straight to the final. Everybody else gets to race for the rest of the spots. And we don't know the size of their field, what it'll be, and we don't know how many of the boats we just saw will go to the final, but I would suspect that possibly 2 of them will. We know that Kaylee will for sure, so we will see the red UL72 later today in the Unlimited Lights final.
Jeff Bernard, FormulaBoats.com, U5, Kent, Washington. What do I do when I'm not racing?
What do you do when you're not racing?
Play video games probably and work. pretty much bow racing takes up all my time. We run 3 different inboard classes at home or around the Washington state. And I'm a 4th generation driver. My uncles and my late stepfather all race boats. I've been doing it since I was 9 years old. Just grew up into the racing and have enjoyed it my whole life. We've had good runs here. Ran 2nd year last year. This is where my stepdad Terry got qualified as an unlimited driver in 2000, and then 2001 he won his first career victory. So we're hoping to do that. This weekend for him in remembrance of him. So it'd be neat to get a win here.
J. Michael Kelly, Puyallup, Washington, and in my free time, mainly just spend time with my family when I'm not racing. I'm 3rd generation. My grandfather used to race, and his brothers, and my dad and my uncle. And then I started when I was 8, so I'm going on my 23rd year of racing. Just started running little outboards and kind of worked my way through the ranks, and now here I am. Just pure speed that we run. Get to see a boat do 200 miles an hour. You get tons of people walking down the pits and the crowd, and it's just an amazing place to come watch a boat race. Did a lot of work in off season, and it's showed so far. So and like I said earlier, it's been 50-50 here, and last year it didn't go so well, and so hopefully this year will be my year.
We have an interesting heat coming up, folks, because Steve David is in it again, and because of his 4th place finish last time out, he's going to be in lane 3. So the plot thickens a little bit for Steve David and the Oberto team. He's going to have a lot of speed to his left in the person of Brian Perkins, Miss Albert Lee Appliance, a winner last time out, J. Michael Kelly in the very fast U7, and those 2 boats will both have a starting advantage on Steve David, Mark.
Yep, and Steve David will be in the middle of the pack here in lane number 3. Spirit of Detroit, Cal Phipps in lane number 4, the U13. Nate Brown, who just missed his start. That's what he said when Patrick interviewed him after the 2nd heat today. He just missed his start. He's going to be looking for a better start in the U17 out in lane number 5, and in lane number 6 on the outside will be Mark Evans in the U57 FormulaBoats.com. He was the one who let him down over the starting line yesterday in the 1st heat. He just was way outside and didn't have enough power to get around everybody, but Mark Evans is back racing unlimited hydroplanes, Steve.
Well, he knows how to drive a race boat. He knows how to make a start. This is not his first rodeo. He is in the 3rd of the 3 Formula Boats team boats, so he doesn't have the kind of speed or handling that it would take to run up front, but he's certainly giving a nice accounting of himself. Very positive reaction, Mark, when the announcement came out that Mark Evans would be running here in the Tri-Cities, and we hope to see more of that this season.
He's been racing Grand Prix here on the West Coast in the Grand Prix West circuit, and has gotten back into hydroplane driving. Glad to see Mark Evans back in the cockpit. He is in the, Steve, you said, the 3rd of the Formula Boats. This is one that had been a backup boat for them. Attended in Detroit, didn't race. Attended in Madison, the 1st race of the season, didn't race, but they've got it up and running, and Mark, he's going to make his mark at this point, some point.
You get to see some of the action in the pit area here as the Oberto crew points their boat out into the Columbia, and Steve David hits the igniter. The propeller begins to turn, the boat picks up some speed, hops up onto a plane nicely, and the U1 Oh Boy Oberto is on the race course. I believe he's the first to come out. He does have a red boat beside him, though. As we look, oh, that's Nate Brown, who inexplicably made a horrible start last time out. Finished well back, then had engine problems, but he is in this heat as well. Nate will be out in lane 5. And again, the story here is going to be the fact that boats like this one right here, the U7 Graham Trucking, a very fast red boat, will have a starting advantage on Steve David. J. Michael Kelly will be in lane 2 with Steve David to his right in lane 3, and Brian Perkins, who should be leaving the pits, yes he is right now, in that green, black, and white Miss Albert Lee Appliance, will have the big advantage of lane 1. Going to be fun to see how this first turn goes, Mark.
Cal Phipps leaving the pits as well, so pretty much everybody present and accounted for. We got one more boat to get out on the race course, I think, and that would be J. Michael Kelly in the U7.
So while the boats are getting up and running, we want to take a break. When we come back, we'll be at full speed. We'll be a couple of minutes from the start of our next heat of unlimited racing. We'll be right back. Six boats scheduled for the running of Heat 3A. Mark Allen, all six are up and running nicely. Should be a great heat of racing right here.
Looking at the overhead shot from our helicopter camera, that is also the camera, the shot, or the view, I guess, it'd be a better way to put it, the officials have. Looking at Brian Perkins heading through the Blue Bridge turn. 3 minutes and 10 seconds left to go. Everybody's still pretty much spread out all over the race course. There's J. Michael Kelly, just came off the Blue Bridge turn, and he's heading up the backstretch.
We saw a moment ago Brian Perkins in the green and white Albert Lee appliance as he was pulling onto the backstretch. He's behind the boat you're looking at right now. The leader going up the backstretch at the 2 minute and 50-second mark. So we have probably another lap to do before we do the actual scoring up to run around and come to the start. That is Brian Perkins right there, a winner his last time out. He will be coming from lane 1, certainly an advantage. That boat handles very well on the inside. It's a very new, wide, light race boat. Brian's first year in it after driving older, slower, heavier boats. He looks really good so far. Might be the favorite here, Mark, since he has lane 1. But when you look to his right, you see J. Michael Kelly in the Graham Trucking and Steve David in the U1. Oh boy, Alberta. That's a great three-boat setup right there.
That's a lot of speed in lanes 1, 2, and 3. Not to count out Cal Phipps in that lemon yellow Lion Green U13 Spirit of Detroit in lane number 4. It's going to be a long haul for the guys in lanes 5 and 6. That'll be Nate Brown and Mark Evans.
We're coming up on 2 minutes right there. We are 2 minutes from the start of Heat 3A. We are looking at Steve David in the Oh Boy Alberto and Nate Brown hoping to make a better start than he did last time out. Nate, in our interview after the heat, was interesting because yesterday he made one of the best starts we'd ever seen. And then today he made one of the worst. And he said, please remember the one from yesterday because the one today was as bad as that one was good. Well, boats all over the race course now, Mark. We got to get them grouped up a little bit. We're inside of 1 minute and 30 seconds right there.
Cal Phipps just crossing the start-finish line, followed by Nate Brown. He'll come into your picture in just a moment or two. Great shot from overhead above turn number 1 as the boats head down to that Blue Bridge turn.
You can see they are spread out quite a bit. The next time we see this picture, they'll be coming into that turn racing 1/4 of a lap after the start, and we suspect they will be tightly bunched together. We'll be hoping they all get through there safely. Coming up now on the 1 minute mark in 3, 2, 1, mark. We are 1 minute from the start of Heat 3A.
Overhead shot you just saw with Brian Perkins on the inside and J. Michael Kelly next to him. Now they come off the Blue Bridge turn. Cal Phipps leads them up. Steve David right behind him. As you can see, the Perkins boat, Albert Lee appliance, now coming up and behind Steve David. And he is in lane number 1. Brian Perkins will be a little bit early at this point with 35 seconds left to go. Everybody else hanging back just a little bit.
You have to remember the stagger that you need going through this turn here before the start. The boats on the outside should be ahead at this point because they have further to go around that turn to get lined up properly at the exit pin. But Brian Perkins, who has the inside, right now is leading the entire field at 16 seconds. So he may be a little early. He won't be able to go full throttle from here. Swinging out beside him, that's J. Michael Kelly and Steve David. And those three boats are going to be very close as they run down to start this race. 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. It looks like a good start, and Steve David takes the lead, Mark Allen.
It was Steve David first across the line. Brian Perkins had to back down just a little bit coming from the exit pin of the turn 2, coming down to the front straightaway. It is a good start. Steve David leads them. He's in lane number 3. Lane number 2 is Kelly and Brian Perkins on the inside.
You can see
are right deck to deck.
And you saw Steve David out in lane 3 leave a lot of room for the youngsters to his left. A nice job of going through there. He's going to have a little bit of a lead as they start up the backstretch. Probably the fastest boat out here, the Oh Boy Alberto, but he does have lane 3 to contend with, and 2 very quick youngsters off to his left. Up the backstretch, our leader is Steve David, the Oh Boy Alberto. J. Michael Kelly running second just to his left, but Brian Perkins is going to move up inside of J. Michael Kelly. We may have a new second place boat as we come out of this turn.
At the left side of the boat up, Brian Perkins did as he hit the apex of turn 2, and a little bit close there between Steve David and J. Michael Kelly. Steve David still leading him down the front straightaway to the end of lap number 1. It's Steve David first. Right behind him is J. Michael Kelly, and less than a rooster tail is Brian Perkins in third.
A good example of what you can do to a fast boat, because Perkins on the inside did have a lane coming through that turn, but it wasn't a full throttle lane. He lost a little bit of speed there as he had room to get through, but not at full song. So he drops back a little bit into third place. And look at our race now as J. Michael Kelly pulls up right on the hip of Steve David as they start up the backstretch. The veteran and the youngster side by side, approaching 200 miles per hour as they go up the Pasco side. And the old boy Oberto legs it out to a little bit of a lead over the 7 again.
Kelly is pushing him hard as they come to the entrance buoy to the west hand turn number 2, top end of the race course. Kelly's going to pull right up beside him as they come to the apex of turn number 2. This is lap 2 of 3 times around. Kelly's on the inside. He's got the buoy line to his left, and Steve David and he are dead even as they come off the buoy.
Kelly doing a tremendous job on the inside of going after Steve David. Thought he might be leading coming out of that turn, but the acceleration of the Oberto put the U1 out ahead again as Steve flies the boat a little bit as he comes across start finish with Kelly in hot pursuit. Now it's back a couple of rooster tails to our third place boat, Brian Perkins.
Couldn't see, but Kelly got loose just exactly at the same time that Oberto got loose, and they are almost dead even as they go through the Blue Bridge turn. You watch it as they're only about 3 or 4 boat lengths behind. This is the 3rd time around. Kelly still has him. You can see a lot of red in Steve David's left-hand mirror.
Steve David has a lead by almost a rooster tail up the backstretch. It does not look like J. Michael Kelly is going to have enough race boat to catch the veteran from Lighthouse Point, Florida. Steve David starting in lane 3 and doing a masterful job. A perfect start, taking a lead and staying in lane 3 for 2 laps before he moved over. Had the boat speed out there to do that, and now he's going to come down and take the checkered flag and pick up 400 very valuable points for a win here in 3A. Flying the U1 Oh Boy Oberto across the start-finish line, taking the checkered flag, Steve David. Second place will go to J. Michael Kelly in the U7 Graham Trucking. Third to Brian Perkins, who did contend early, then got into a little bit of a crowd up there in the turn and dropped back into third place. Nate Brown comes across in 4th, and our 5th place boat still running on the backstretch is Mark Evans in the U57, FormulaBoats.com.
First lap, our Cal Phipps, our rookie down there in the U13 Spirit of Detroit, went dead in the water just before the exit buoy of the Blue Bridge turn.
Understand he lost his cowling. He might have gotten into a rooster tail or got bounced around a little bit, so we'll have to see if there's any more said about that. We did not mention Cal after they came by the first time, and indeed he had gone dead in the Blue Bridge turn. Finally, Mark Evans getting the checkered flag after running a distant, let's see, we score Mark in 5th place. Phipps will be a DNF. It did not finish. Pretty good heat of racing, Mark, when you put the veteran with his very fast boat out there in lane 3 and a couple of quick youngsters to his left.
I don't think that Steve David wanted to run that hard in that heat, but Mike Kelly pushed him to do just that. If he hadn't, Mike would have been in first place and ended up. He was very, very close.
Well, J. Michael Kelly is not old enough yet to know that sometimes you just settle back into second place. He drove hard all the way, and consequently, the guy out ahead, who you're looking at right now, that is Steve David catching the tow rope as JMK cruises in beside him, picking up 400 points, and that was critical for him because he did not get as many points as he wanted last time out. He actually lost his national high points lead to Dave Vilwalk in the U96 Spirit of Qatar. Vilwalk will be out next in 3B with a chance to add to that lead.
So unofficially, our scorecard looks like this for Connell Oil Heat 3A. First place went to Steve David and the Oh Boy Oberto. Second place to the U7 Graham Trucking, and 300 points for J. Michael Kelly. Third place to Brian Perkins in the U21 Miss Albert Lee Appliance. Fourth place to Nate Brown in the Miss Red Dot, the U17. Fifth place went to Mark Evans in the U57, FormulaBoats.com. And our good friend Cal Phipps, who's done such a marvelous job as a rookie this year, did not finish in 6th place.
We'll have to get more information on what happened to Cal Phipps. We heard on the official radio that maybe he had lost a cowling, which might indicate he got into somebody's rooster tail. At any rate, Heat 3A is in the books. Next up, what should be a very exciting Heat 3B when we come back to the Columbia River and the 2010 Lamb Weston Columbia Cup. See if you can get a picture of the...
Well, we have Cal Phipps dead in the water, as we said before we went to break. He lost a cowling. We found the cowling, and in fact, there's a rescue boat, a patrol boat, going out to retrieve that fiberglass cowling. Fortunately, they
He's a little bit to the left of that picture. We might be able to see what's going on with the U-13. In the meantime, let's go down to Patrick Nolan in the Neil F. Lamson pit area.
Well, thank you, Steve David. You win 3A. It was a tough race for you. This 7 really gave you a run for your money.
Yeah, he did. I mean, 21 had won a heat. We knew the 7 was quick, but to beat him from lane 3, we know that's a setup for the final. We should have probably run that setup against 96 earlier, but you learn every heat. You learn to do better, and we're ready to go against him now. If he wins this heat, unfortunately, he's going to be probably in lane 1, and we'll be in 2 or 3, but we are sure going to give it a run for the Alberto money.
There you go. You're 4th in terms of points before this heat. Where does this put you now?
Well, you got to wait for this next set of heats, but I think we'll end up probably 2nd in points, which means we'll have second lane choice. But we've won this race from lane 1. I think we've also run it from lane 3, so we're not going to give up until the race is all over.
Nice rebound, I guess. Kind of a frustrating heat number 2 to get back into it for 3.
Oh yeah. I mean, in street terms, that last heat sucked. This one was much better.
There you go. Steve David, winner of heat 3A. Back to you.
Thanks, guys.
And, of course, that reference back to the heat we looked at earlier, where we showed the overhead shot of Steve getting squeezed a little bit there in lane 3 in that turn and running into some very rough water. Something has befallen Cal Phipps. We see his cowling now being fished out of the water, and we don't know. It came off just moments before his boat went dead. He was running out in lane 4. He had Nate Brown to his right, Steve David to his left, and I don't remember seeing anything in the overhead shot that indicated that Cal would be running out of racing room. But something went wrong with the U-13. It apparently took a hit from a rooster tail or something. The cowling looks like it may be damaged as well as missing. So we'll have to wait till Cal gets back to the pits and ask him what happened.
Yeah, I'm with U13 team manager Scott Allen right now. You guys lose your cowling in heat 3A. What can you tell me about what happened?
Well, Cal was coming into the turn there and got pinched in tightly by the 2 boats on either side. Both rooster tails hit him, and it just pulled it off.
Is this something you can't really plan for this? I assume this is just part of boat racing.
No, it is. You can't plan for it. They're attached very well, but when that water hits that hard, it's like rocks being thrown at it, and things happen.
And I assume this is just something where you have to wait till the next heat is over to see how you set up for the final.
Right. We came into this in 5th place in points. Very good opportunity to be in the final. We'll just have to wait and see at the end of this Heat B.
All right. Thank you very much, Scott. You can probably see the U13 Spirit of Detroit coming in right now. You can see that cowling piece missing off the top of it, rough edge along the top. So we'll have to see how that shakes out for the U13 in the final. From the Spirit of Detroit, I'm Patrick Nolan. Back to you.
Hi, Mike Webster here, driver of the U-22. I'm from Reading, Pennsylvania, and I'm actually a school teacher. I teach health and phys ed to 7th through 12th graders. This is actually Ed Cooper's old hull that he ran here a number of years, and so we've refurbished it and done some modifications, put a turbine in it, and we have it out here running this weekend. Great water, fast water, and it's just a great course. So it's always been our fastest, and this is just a real pleasure to drive. There's going to be a lot of excitement here. Great boats, lots of competition, and great weather.
Hi, my name is Greg Hopp. I drive the U100 Leland Unlimited, sponsored by Mirage Boats, and I work at Boeing when I'm not doing this, and would much rather just be doing this, but hey, someone has to pay the bills, right? I grew up as a kid racing boats from right out of the gate, and my dad ran here back here in 1983, and I came over and crewed on an unlimited hydroplane with an Allison in it, and just enjoyed it ever since. And Tri-Cites is my favorite race course simply because I qualified here as a driver. Well, if you've never seen these things in person, you gotta come see us. Anything, what you see on TV, what you see in the news, streaming online is nothing compared to in person. It's kind of like seeing a monster truck. It just grabs you by the heart when you're there in person. I think we're going to do darn good. You got to have a little bit of racing luck, but with that, I think we're pretty well prepared. And after our good showing in Detroit, I'm looking forward to this weekend.
Oil Heat 3B coming up. Before we do that, we want to say hi to a couple of our friends out in the Midwest in Evansville, Indiana, who sent us an email. You guys up in the booth have had some emails from folks, but we want to say hi to Mike and Angie Fetcher and the kids, and I'm sure Kirk Duncan's floating around in the pool out there. They've got us up on the big screen TV, and they're going to do pool and barbecue a little later on.
Hello to Kirk and Mike back in India. Earlier, you guys mentioned James Crisp had sent you an email or a text message. James is an outstanding photographer who does some work for us in the Midwest. You see a lot of his photos on the H1 Unlimited website. So hello to James as well.
Let's take a look at the boats that will be in Heat 3B from inside out. It will be Dave Vilwalk. Perfect day so far. U96 Spirit of Qatar in lane number 1. Then it'll be Greg Hopp. You just saw his profile, the U100 Flory Auto Parts. And we've got the U37 Miss Peters&May. That was John Zimmerman. He's the driver. He's the one who didn't particularly care for the atomic wings. That was a little too spicy for him. Jeff Bernard will be in lane number 4 in the U5FormulaBoats.com. And you saw a little piece on Mike Webster a minute or two ago in the U22 Matrix Systems. He'll be on the outside in lane number 5.
The point situation very interesting right here, Mark, because Dave Vilwalk has 800, a perfect day so far. If he scores 169 points, finishes 3rd or 4th in this heat, he'll probably have lane 1 in the final, so it's going to be hard to keep him out of there. No one else in this heat has over 400 points at this point, so they all need to score as many as possible. Greg Hopp, John Zimmerman, Jeff Bernard, and Mike Webster are going to need high finishes here to make it into the final, because Brian Perkins, J. Michael Kelly, and Steve David are all up in the 900-point range already. So Dave Vilwalk in great shape to make the final and possibly have lane 1. Everybody else has to scramble, foot to the floor, and score as many points as they can right here if they have any hope of running in the winner-take-all final.
We'll be back with the race, Heat 3B, in just a moment. You've heard us say boats spread all over the race course as we approach 3 minutes here. Well, that's a beautiful shot that tells you exactly what we've been describing as well. Boats spread all over the race course.
I think you can see us there if you look really close.
We're waving now.
We're on the shoreline there on the Kennewick side. A couple of boats just went by us on the backstretch. We see Dave Vilwalk in the U96. That's David there in the boat sponsored by the Qatar Marine Sports Federation. They will be hosting us again in November when we all go back to Doha, beautiful city on the Persian Gulf for the UIM World Championship. Quite an experience for all of us who were able to do that. Last year, many of you I know stayed up overnight to watch us. 14-hour time difference, I think it was. So we were all a little wacky when we got there, but it worked out absolutely great. Sheikh Hassan and his crew over there making us all very welcome, and then stepping up and becoming sponsors as they are now involved in American racing in a couple of ways. Sheikh Hassan is actually running his offshore boat in an American series now rather than in the Class 1 European series where he was before. Looking at, I believe, the U5.
That's 5. That's Jeff Bernard coming up the backstretch.
And what gave it away, of course, was the long snorkel out over the driver. Makes that boat easier to spot. Jeff is turning down the front straightaway now at the 1-minute 53-second mark. Might be able to make this his last lap before starting.
He's coming up behind John Zimmerman in the U37, the Miss Peters&May. You see him right there. He will be next to him on the right-hand side. And coming up behind them, sliding into the left of John Zimmerman, will be Greg Hopp in the U100. He'll be in lane number 2. And sliding in right behind him is Dave Vilwalk in the Spirit of the right-hand side of the screen there. Then Greg Hopp. Then we go back to the 37, the Peters&May, and the 4th boat out there would be the 5, Jeff Bernard, and
Mike Webster was trailing the field a little bit as they came by. Now they are swinging wide. You see a red boat out ahead. That's Jeff Bernard in the Formula boats. They're fanning out the way they should. The boats on the outside should be ahead going into the final turn because they have further to go around that turn and down to start finish. Right now, Vilwalk is up with Bernard. So the leader in the field going up the backstretch is actually the boat in lane 1. Other boats will have to speed up a little bit so they can make up that stagger in the turn. We are now 41 seconds away from the start, so nobody can go too fast just yet. All of them talking to their spotters on the tower next to us about their timing points on the race course. Field is forming up nicely as Mike Webster comes up from behind to take his spot out in lane 5. Looks like Vilwalk is in great shape in there with Greg Hopp right next to him, then John Zimmerman and Jeff Bernard. Shaping up now for a good run down to the start, Mark Allen. Here they come.
On the inside, Dave Vilwalk in the Spirit of Qatar, Greg Hopp in the U100 next to him, the Flory Auto Parts in lane number 3. It'll be John Zimmerman. They lead him down 7 seconds now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's the 0 on the digital clock, and Jeff Bernard leads him across the line. Looks like it could be a good start. They were about a second behind. You got Jeff
Absolutely
Bernard.
great start by Jeff Bernard. He's in the 4th boat from the right. You see Vilwalk on the inside. He'll have the short way around the race course and a boat that handles great. Hope for everybody to get through here clean, leaving a lot of room. Zimmerman sliding out a little bit, but he's okay in lane 3, and there goes Vilwalk on the inside, hugging the exit pin. He heads up the backstretch. He'll have a nice lead right away, and there's your leader, Dave Vilwalk, the U96 Spirit of Qatar.
But let's look at this race for second place. One rooster tail behind Dave Vilwalk. You've got 2 boats deck to deck. It's Bernard outside of Greg Hopp, the U100, the black and maroon boat. He is now in second place, but only about a boat length behind is Jeff Bernard in the U5. Big hop for Dave Vilwalk as he entered that turn. Rooster tail completely went away, but he's got a full 2 rooster tail lead. But now your race for second place is Dave Vilwalk ends lap number 1 in first place. Absolutely almost dead even now. Jeff Bernard pulls ahead by about 2 boat lengths at the end of lap number 1. He's in second. Greg Hopp in third, and then John Zimmerman will come across fourth, and he's followed very closely by Mike Webster.
Greg Hopp has great straightaway speed in that black and maroon boat. He doesn't corner quite as well as the boat to his right. We're looking overhead as Vilwalk negotiates the Blue Bridge turn one more time. Now right behind him, you see that on the inside, Greg Hopp has been able to use the advantage to get ahead of the red boat. That's Jeff Bernard in the U5, falling back just a little bit. Now here's our great race for second and third place as they start up the backstretch. And look at Hopper. The old black boat can really go in a straight line, and he uses that speed right now to take second place. But Jeff Bernard is right there, right on his hip.
And he has got the inside lane. Greg Hopp moved over, as we saw on the overhead camera. He is now inside of Dave Vilwalk. So Jeff Bernard's going to have to, Greg gets way up in the air, bouncing through some slop in the top of the west end turn. But they are still deck to deck. They come down to end lap number 2. Your leader is the Spirit of Qatar, the U96. But a dead even race for second place. It's Jeff Bernard by 2 boat lengths as they cross the line at the end of lap number 2.
Right now, the boats in second and third are both running inside the wake of the U96, and I hope there's room for both of them in there. Vilwalk was in lane 1. He has moved out a little bit, and I think the 2 behind him are able to make it through there inside of his wake. It looks like they will, and Jeff Bernard, who was outside the wake, had a big disadvantage there because of the distance he had to go around the turn. Now he's moved in a lane. He might be okay here. Greg Hopp on the inside still has good boat speed. We got a good race for second and third up the backstretch. Dave Vilwalk is out ahead by a couple of rooster tails. Not much of a race there, but we do have the checkered flag waiting for the second and third place boats in that race, still undecided as they go into the final turn.
Entrance buoy at the top of the course at the apex now. Greg Hopp, a master at making a turn right on the buoy line. Watch him as he gets very, very close to that yellow apex buoy, the exit buoy, and now they're dead even as they come off. It's a drag race to the finish.
It's going to be Bernard. Jeff Bernard in the U5 is going to hang on and take second place. But what a great boat race between Jeff Bernard and the veteran Greg Hopp over there in the U100. Not much of a contest for anybody trying to catch Dave Vilwalk. He put the U96 Spirit of Qatar in lane 1. There isn't a boat in the world that can get around him, and none of them did here. Here's our 4th place finisher, John Zimmerman, coming by in the U37 Miss Peters&May, and 5th place will go to Mike Webster in the U22 Matrix Systems. We understand there is an encroachment penalty on the U100, monetary only, doesn't affect the finish. Apparently, Greg at some point scooted out a little bit and got in Jeff Bernard's way, and that'll cost him a few bucks.
But it's not going to cost him any place or points, and Jeff Bernard fought through that to beat him anyway for second place. So unofficially, our final preliminary heat of the day, the Connell Oil Heat 3B, and our finish unofficially first place to Dave Vilwalk. You're looking at him right there. He's back at the pits already, got the hatch open. Second place to Jeff Bernard in the U5FormulaBoats.com. Greg Hopp, third place in the U100. The Fleury Auto Parts, 4th place to the Miss Peters&May, the U37, and 5th place to Mike Webster in the U22 Matrix System.
Now, Mark, before we go, get your pen ready, and I'll give you the points for the boats that have finished 3A and 3B. Dave Vilwalk, obviously, a perfect day so far, has 1,200 points, and he is in the final. Second highest, as near as I can tell here, is 969, scored by Steve David. 900 points for J. Michael Kelly in the Graham Trucking. Next would be, let's see, 850. Brian Perkins has 850 points. How many is that?
That's 4.
Okay, we need a couple more. Who's next? 525, 563, I believe, is next, and that's John Zimmerman in the U37, Peters&May. And then we go down to 525 points. We have 2 boats in that category, Cal Phipps in the Spirit of Detroit and Jeff Bernard in the U5, formulaboats.com.
What may happen there is they will use qualifying as a tiebreaker because we will be running 6 in a trailer, as far as I understand.
The rest of the points, Mike Webster, Matrix Systems, has 465, and Mark Evans in the U57, formulaboats.com, has 423. So we should be able to set the final field, and no surprise, Dave Vilwalk in the U96 will have first lane choice. Where do you think he'll want to go?
It only takes one guess, and it's the number 1, lane 1. So
it does look like Steve David has scored enough to have lane 2, so that'll make it interesting.
Yep. A lot of speed throughout the final. We'll be back. We've got more racing. We've got the Unlimited Lights Thunder Cup and the championship of the 2010 Columbia Cup, Lamb Weston Columbia Cup, coming up. All righty, we are back.
Patrick Noland is down in the pit area. Patrick, you might tell Dave Vilwalk that according to our calculations, he has picked up about 240 points on Steve David, and he came into the day trailing him by 189. So I think you're standing next to our national high point leader at this point. Go ahead, Patrick.
All right, so Dave, I've just been told you move up 260 points on Steve David in the National High Points race. How does that feel?
Well, that's good. I mean, we're race one heat at a time, one race at a time. The national points is fun, but we got a final to win here. So we'll be changing engines, changing gearboxes, changing propellers, doing everything to run from the inside and run against all the top teams that we have here this weekend.
And perfection so far at the Columbia Cup, how does that feel?
Well, so far so good. We're just hoping for one more.
And what does it mean? You got the first lane selection. That's got to mean a lot going into the final.
It means that the team did a great job. We tried to do a great job. We tried to race within our capabilities, and we tried to work on a race boat, not just a qualifying boat. And so those dividends hopefully will come back to us. I just got to do a good job here one more time.
All right, thank you, Dave. U96 Spirit of Qatar now, of course, changes their focus to the all-important final. Now back to you.
Well, we got a couple of hours for them to work on those fine-tuning adjustments that Dave Vilwalk mentioned, and everybody else going to be working on some fine-tuning adjustments. You heard Steve David say a little earlier that he has now the setup that he wants for the final, that maybe he should have run it in Heat 2, but in Heat 3, he was in Lane 3, ended up winning the race, and he thinks that's the setup he needs to win the Columbia Cup in 2010 for a three-peat.
Hi, I'm Nate Brown. I'm from Preston, Washington, and when I'm not boat racing, I'm working on the race boat. Does that make sense? Something like that. Boat racing is one of those all-encompassing, you have to love it to like it, and you have to like it to love it. And, you know, right now I like it. I don't really love it, so where's that put me? Anyway, the Red Dot's our sponsor. We're happy to be here in Tri-Cites. Tri-Cites is our most favorite race course. You guys are awesome here in the city. We've got a great park we go to. I mean, whoever takes care of this park, attaboy, they do a nice job. Oh, I'm 173 years old. I started racing back before they invented engines, you know, but no, I started racing in 1990. I was Rookie of the Year back then. By the way, the same year Vilwalk was a rookie and I beat him out. So one thing I can say about the one time I beat Vilwalk was Rookie of the Year, right? No, but if I drove for Fred Leland, built his first turbine boat. I had lots of people in this sport give me opportunities to help out, and the way I can kind of pay back is I built a boat, started a team. I got a great team behind me. I've got some nice sponsors, and so I'm here putting on a show and trying to race with the big boys.
I'm Brian Perkins. I'm from North Bend, Washington. And when I'm not racing unlimited boats, I'm either hiking or fishing or doing something around the house. I race big boats, small boats, anything with a motor that goes in the water, I'm in. And when I'm not racing unlimiteds, we're racing small 1-liter boats, and when we're not racing, we're working and fixing. This course is great. I mean, the fans and the people here in Tri-Cities are amazing, especially the people my age. They really understand what's going on with the race boats and who they are and the drivers and the sponsors. The race course itself is super fast. It's the fastest in the world that we have on the circuit right now. It's just an incredible place to be. It's the most amazing sport in the world. I mean, you have the biggest, fastest, colorful boats in the world right here in your hometown. There's no reason why you shouldn't be out here.
Hey, my name is Kaylee Perkins, and I live in North Bend, Washington. And right now I'm planning a wedding, and between that and boat racing, I don't do anything else. We grew up racing and part of the Seafair family, grew up being involved in being volunteers, and then my brother got really involved, and now he drives the U-21 Miss Albert Lee, and I just kind of got involved in little boats and moved up through the classes. Because this is one of the best viewing sites for fans, because you're really looking right at what we race. And the pits isn't as good because you're looking at one corner, but from a fan standpoint, you get to pretty much be right in the middle of the race course. It's the best viewing of race courses, in my opinion, is this race course right here. I used to do ballet when I was really little. Actually, I did it up until I was 19 years old.
I'm Mark Evans. I'm from Lake Chelan, Washington, and I work on vintage cars, vintage boats, vintage property, all that kind of stuff. I just love doing custom work. You don't have enough time for that. I've been around 100 years. Oh, my bio, oh my gosh. Let me see. Well, I've won 3 times down here in Tri-Cites, just for starters, and I've had 10 wins in my career. Started unlimited racing back in '79. That's when I started. I didn't start winning until about '91, but raced all different types of vehicles, from open wheel cars to snowmobiles is big in our family. We've raced snowmobiles for years, and just love motorcycle racing and just love life, actually. So that's what it's all about. Because they told me to say that. No, not really. I'm teasing. It is in my backyard, so to speak, being from Lake Chelan. I've got 3 wins here. I've just enjoyed it. Tri-Cites has been good to me. We've had a few bad instances boat racing down here, but I just love the river. It's challenging, and so when it's challenging for the other drivers, you know, I like that. So I'm going to do great. We're down here racing for the Formula team. Ted Porter asked me to come aboard and help them get their U-57 on the water, so that's what we're going to do, and get some qualifying in. I'm kind of a rookie here. I haven't run in about 7 years with the Unlimited, so consider me a rookie right now. Going to go out and have some fun, get in the show, and go give these guys a bad time.
The Lamb Weston Columbia Cup is one of 5 stops on the H1 Unlimited series. At one time, there were as many as 10 or 12 races on the circuit. I'm here with Chairman Sam Cole, who's going to tell us a little bit about what's being done to develop new races.
Emily, we're really focusing a lot overseas right now. I would predict that by 2011 or 12 we'll have a race in China, and we're also in the process of adding an event or 2 over in the Middle East. So ultimately our goal is to have 5 or 6 races here in North America and then go overseas and have another 3 to 4 races a year. And because it adds another port, shipping boats around the world, and boats went literally around the world, Jacksonville, over to Qatar. Back they went the other way through Japan and through the Panama Canal. So everybody went around the world in a little more than 80 days. So the future really is a look at where we want to go internationally, and at the same time build new race sites here in the United States.
Sam, the sport has mainly focused on domestic races in the past. How does this change the scope of what you're doing?
I think the interest that we're getting being broadcast is incredible, and people around the world want to see the fastest boats.
I know many people write in, call in, watching the coverage from around the world, and they appreciate it. Back to you.
With propellers, it's really all about fin to win. If you would picture your hands swimming, doing this through the water or that through the water, you can go faster this way. So the thinner you can make it, the faster you're going to go.
You know, in this business, it's thin to win. If you can make them thin, they don't last a long time, but you can get that little extra boost. Maybe that's an advantage.
An advantage the Elstrom team and Villock can afford. Propellers can cost between 12 to 15 grand, so replacing many in a season can add up. The question remains, is Villock's team thinning to enjoy winning?
Sometimes our propellers might be a little different. Thinner might not be part of that. But I'm not at liberty to tell you exactly what might be a little bit different, but as I say, we give our girl what she wants.
Villock's team does allow others to buy their product.
They ask us what they want for their boat, and we give that to them, and in the end, they end up with a much more competitive boat at the end of the day, and we want that, because we don't want to beat the worst, we want to beat the best.
According to one driver, though, more goes into the perfect propeller than just forking out some dough.
There's a lot of tweaking, a lot of grinding that goes on, reshaping of the blades and things like that, and it's an art form is really what it is.
up in the air a few feet and it came back down, and then it skipped again, and I get no turning out of this thing. So once I went through Mike's rooster tail, I knew at that point that, you know, we had some sort of catastrophic issue. All I could see was all the boats lined up for the next heat right in front of me, like a deck of cards, and I was like, this ain't good. So at that point, that's when I just went full right rudder and tried to avoid the disaster and worry about what comes next.
After what happened, J-Dub says he was lucky to just break the 4 bones in his foot.
The boat absorbed, you know, a huge amount of the crash. I got a broken foot. Big deal.
The U-37's new driver, John Zimmerman, says Myers should be praised for how he reacted in what could have been a deadly situation.
He did a great job keeping that boat out of the crowd. That could have been a very ugly scene. He saved lives that day.